Hi guys, Mrs. A here. Today we're solving linear equations that involve fractions. So this is a little bit more complicated than what we've been doing in the past. So the first thing I want to make note of, in this question we have negative 3 over 4 times d plus 3 equals 4 over 5 times 3d minus 2. This is written this way, but this question is exactly the same as if it were written negative 3d plus 3 over 4, because the brackets here mean that divided by 4 is applied to everything in the brackets. So that's the same question. Equals 4 times 3d minus 2 over 5. So these are the same question. I don't want you to get confused with these two problems. They are exactly the same. So when we have fractions in an equation, we want to get rid of the fractions before we do anything else because it simplifies the equation a bit for us. So we see that we have a divided by 4 on the left side and a divided by 5 on the right side. To eliminate the fractions altogether, we're going to multiply the entire equation, so both sides, by the lowest common denominator that we have here. So we have a 4 and we have a 5. The lowest common denominator for those two numbers is going to be 20. So the fastest way to find a common denominator is to multiply the two. That's not always the lowest common denominator, and the lowest common denominator is going to eliminate some unnecessary reducing with our final answer. So we do want to try for the lowest common denominator. So we have to think, in order to get a denominator of 20 on both sides here, what do I have to multiply this whole equation by? So if I multiply the 20 like this on this side, and then the 20 on this side like this, we get some canceling happening. So if we multiply by 20 but then divide by 4, this cancels. 20 divided by 4 is actually 5. So it's like I'm going to multiply this side by 5. And then on the right hand side, if I multiply by 20 and then divide by 5, these cancel because 20 divided by 5 is 4. So I'm really going to multiply the right hand side by 4. So that's the way we have to think about this. Notice how it kind of has a cross-multiplying effect. That's essentially what's happening here when we do this canceling. So if we have times 5, the coefficient on the brackets here was negative 3. We're going to multiply the two numbers. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. And then we have d plus 3 in the brackets. And the denominator now is gone because it canceled with that 20. Equals. We have times 4, and the coefficient on the brackets was 4, so 4 times 4 is 16, and then in the brackets 3d minus 2. Now look at how we've reduced this equation down into something much simpler, and all of our fractions are now gone. So we know how to solve this now. We want to first expand the brackets, so expand. We're going to distribute that negative 15 to both terms inside the brackets, and then we're going to distribute the 16 to both terms inside of the brackets on the right-hand side. Negative 15 times d is negative 15d. Negative 15 times 3 is negative 45 or minus 45 equals 16 times 3d is 48d. And then 16 times negative 2 is negative 32 or minus 32. Now we're going to keep simplifying here. So we have a variable d on the left and a variable d on the right. We want both of these to be on the same side. So I'm going to move this term over to meet up with its like term on the left-hand side. And we do that, since it's a positive 48d here, we subtract 48d. If we do it on the right, we must do it on the left, like this. Negative 15 Negative 15d minus 48d gives us negative 63d. We still have the minus 45 on this side, equals, on the right-hand side this canceled, and we're left with negative 32. Now, we have a constant on the left and a constant on the right. So we want to bring this constant over to meet up with the constant on the right-hand side. So to do that, it's a minus 45 here. We're going to add 45 to both sides. This. On the left-hand side, this leaves us with negative 43d, because these cancel, equals negative 32 plus 45 is 13. And finally, to get that d by itself, since we have negative 63 times d, we're going to divide by negative 63 on both sides. Okay. This gives us a final value of d equals negative 13 over 63. That is already a reduced fraction, so we can leave the answer like this. If you want to get an approximate value, it is 0.21, but we do like to leave reduced fractions for our answers because they're more accurate. Thanks for watching. Mrs. A Loves Math.